Hello everyone, in this video we will continue to learn about challenges when we upload the CSV files. So the next challenge is number 3. Now before we go to challenge number 3, I also want to give you an example of how to save CSVs in Python. So you have created this one big CSV file, final_data. It's made up of combinations of all those small CSVs, and suppose you want to save this data frame as a CSV for further use. You can just use data frame's name, which is final_data, and then use .to_CSV function in pandas. When you use this function, you can give the path, and we give index is equal to false, because we do not want this index to be stored inside the CSV. So when you run this line of code, you will notice that this CSV is actually saved in your directory. Let's go here and then find dataset, and you will see merge_big_mart and sales is saved. So this is a merge CSV that we just saved here. So this is a very useful concept of pandas, which is basically any data manipulation or any changes that you perform on your CSVs, you can actually save them for future use. So the next challenge that we have in front of ourselves is how can you read CSVs that are separated by specific delimiter. So far, as you have already seen, all the CSVs, the values are separated by a comma. But when you are dealing with real-world data, you also see that sometimes a CSV has, apart from comma, some other characters as delimiters. For example, there are files known as tab-separated values or TSV. In that case, it's just a CSV, but instead of having a comma, you have tabs separating the values. So let me show you an example. If I go to the dataset file, I have here big_mart sales_delimiter. And notice that you have tabs separating the values here. So this is essentially the same tab key that you have in your keyboard. When you press that tab key to separate data values in your file, it's a CSV that is delimited, or all the data values is separated by a tab. So let's see how you can solve this in Python. This is the same data file here with delimiter space tab. If you try to read it using the same normal approach that we had seen before, you will see that it just messes up the entire data set. And here we can just type data_delimiter. And you see that columns are randomly, /t is coming, and the values are getting like this. So in order to solve this problem, you can pass a parameter to the pd.read_csv function in pandas saying that delimiter is equal to \t. So \t essentially means it's a shortcut or a shorthand for a tab space. So when you do this and then print the same data set, you will notice that in this case the dataset is actually uploaded correctly. So let's run this and run the head. So compare this dataset with this one. So apart from comma and \t, there can be other delimiters based on the kind of format or data you are using. You can just pass that as a delimiter here, and pandas will take care of the rest. So this was challenge number 3. Let's go to challenge number 4. So challenge number 4 is actually a challenge that I have seen a lot in my day-to-day life, which is a lot of times you are working only on your local system. You are not using any big servers or large servers that have good amount of RAM, like 32 GB or 64 GB. In those situations, you'll realize that if you are working with datasets that are very large, for example, there's a CSV file that has, say, 100 million rows. In that case, when you're trying to read that CSV, it either takes a long time for pandas to read it, or sometimes your program might even crash. In those cases, what we try to do is, we see the CSV in parts. So what we tell is, okay, instead of seeing the entire 100 million rows, I just want to see the first 100 rows, then next 1000 rows, and next 1000 rows, and so on. And this is what nRows parameter of the read CSV function helps us to do. So this is the same big_mart sales CSV data here. It gives nRow equal to 100 as a parameter. We read the file now. You will see that the number of rows have been fixed to 100. It's no longer the same entire data set where we had like 8,500 plus rows. This is actually a very useful trick that you can apply when you're working with files that are too large to fit into your RAM. If you just see the head of the data set, it's the same data set. Nothing has changed. Now, just like the fact that you can read first nRows in a dataset, you can also read specific columns while opening a file in pandas. So this is very straightforward when you're opening a file using the read CSV function. just use the parameter useCalls and give all the column names that you want to read. When you execute this piece of code, you will see that you are only getting those columns which you have clearly mentioned. So these were some ways in which you can deal with the challenges that you face when you're working with CSV files in Pandas. Let's go to the next video to learn how to read other types of data files. Thank you for watching.